one of whom must have been Raphael. Although I don't know if he was called Raphael. We were all called different names. The game was called something completely Drakenfels. Project Drakenfels.
Yeah, all of them. The Warhammer was called Project Brutus, I think. But they've all got these names, so that none of us know actually what we're a part of.
And Neil, how about yourself?
Much the same. I think I auditioned for about 15 different characters, a dwarf and a tiefling, and the one they enjoyed seemed to be something called Devilkin, which had these big wings and stuff. Oh, maybe it was your role.
Oh, maybe it was.
And
did he have a tail?
He did, yes. Which I waggled profusely in my audition. But unusually for voiceover, because it was motion capture as well, we had to do full body. So I just, what you do is you pump all your sort of different things out and you wait for the phone call. And I got an email, I think it was September 2019, saying that I'd been chosen for a player character. And we all had, what's interesting about the Tabzivs, we have an essence of something, because obviously you're Raphael or Minty, etc., where you are this character all the way through, and you have that one look. Whereas being a Tav in the Dark Urge, I had the essence of Rogue, as does Tav 8, but we're all given these different essences. And as it went on, to be frank, it became more me and me, because...
Essence of Neil.
Yes. I was thinking of bottling it and selling it at my table, but sidetracked. But I do find it interesting because there isn't that image, because it's so customizable, for an actor to really get involved with and to secure yourself. So I think that's why most of the Tavs, to a certain extent, their own personalities came out. Josh, who's Tav 1, says that his natural personality, which I think he says is sort of rather deadpan and cynical, started coming out, because that's the only thing you can latch onto, because you don't have this look, etc. But whatever it was, they seemed to be happy with it, and it worked. And then it was Baudelaire Welsh who created the Dark Urge, and they chose me, which is very flattering, to do that monologue at the start of the Dark Urge. And if any of you heard that, it's an origin character, and you can hear this monologue, and it's one of the few times where I had this huge speech to read. Normally it's just a couple of lines at a time, so it was really beautiful to actually involve yourself into it, and to a certain extent be able to act for a period of time and tell this extraordinary story of the Dark Urge and their amnesia. Doesn't know where they come from, you see. So anyway,
the same as the others. I was given a sort of rundown of who Minthara was, but without being told who she was or what the game was. And I recorded a video audition, and about 3 weeks later I was told I was going to play her, and that was it.
I guess I'm the trend breaker then, because mine was a direct approach. I was working with our casting director Beth on another game for the Switch called Harmony Fall of Reverie, and she was directing me in that. And then at the end of one of our sessions one day, she was like, "Oh, I'm doing this other thing. I'm doing this Project Drakenfels. It's Baldur's Gate 3." And I was like, "All right." And she said, "There's this character I think you'd be really great for. Do you wanna come do it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And that was it. And then I didn't know, similarly to you, I didn't know what she looked like because when I went in to do my recording, they didn't have an image of Nocturne. They just said they didn't tell me tiefling, they said sexy demon, and I was like, oh, okay, wow, that gives me an image of it. And I said, that sounds kind of cool, and also, I don't know if any of you are fans of Hell of a Boss, but I have friends who are in that, so I was like, okay, I can do sexy demon, like if they can do that, I can do that too. So I went in and I gave them sexy demon, and then the thing came out, and they actually finally got to see Nocturne when somebody sent me a screenshot and was like, is this you? And I was like, yeah, that's me, I guess. Like,
was it what you pictured in the end?
Yeah, similarly, they showed me a picture of a tiefling who wasn't pink or purple. I think the tiefling they showed me was green, so I was imagining green, But I knew that she had a tail, and I
Would you have
incorporated
changed
that.
your performance if you realised it was pink and not green?
Maybe, but I deliberately made Nocturne quite sort of femme and quite girly. Also, I can always tell who the real hardcore gamers are, because you don't find Nocturne till right at the end of Shadow Heart's questline. Yeah, this guy's nodding. It's like, yeah, I found you. I'm like, hell yeah. She's in one room right at the end of Shadow Heart's questline. You can find me, but yeah.
Is that after we killed? Because I'm on Twitch, just in case you didn't know. Twitch.tv/Neely Roberts. And thank you very much. And I'm just at the end of their quest, where I think I have killed or whoever it is. So I possibly am about to find you.
You might have killed me by accident as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, I didn't know that was you, I'm sorry! I was like, it's fine, you can reload, I'll come back. You can trade items with me, which is great.
The game is really strange though, because I played 125 hours and Emma's character has had about 2 lines with me, and then I killed you. It's the same with Samantha, who plays Karlak, that I had 1 line with them. They wouldn't join my party. I asked chat, well, at some point, will they join my party? So no, never, so I killed them. And then there was also Halcyon, Dave, you know, really popular characters like yours and Sam's and Dave's, who I also killed straight away. Apparently because I killed the whole of the Emerald Grove, no one was happy. But
You can tell why Neil's so popular, can't
however, I want to play it again and keep you alive, keep Dave alive, keep Sam alive.
Can't have me and Dave.
Oh, can we not?
You can. You can
You
now.
can now.
Yes.
Oh, you can have me and Dave.
Excellent, I look forward to that.
It's better if you
You have to
do.
be knocked unconscious. And then that's how you can be at the same time.
I have found the knocked
Thank you.
unconscious button now. Everyone was saying on chat, knock them unconscious. So I got my sword out and stabbed you, and it turned out that was not the unconscious button.
Just like to point out, the moral of this story is don't always join Neil's party, otherwise you're dead.
However, everyone gets a bit of BAFTA winner Andrew Wincott.
So, now we've said about the BAFTA, when you got nominated for Andrew, how did you feel? Because that must have been an insane thing to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I just, I thought, what? You know, I just had no idea. I think I did an interview with Dan Allen, and he said, you know, who knows, you might end up with a nomination. I thought, no, come on, what, seriously? And then the long list came out, and I was on it, and I looked at who else was on it, and I thought, well, that's going to be the end of that. You know, there's no way I'm going beyond the long list. And
That's what I thought when I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 3 months later, because it had to be 3 months, so that all the judges can play the game, and then they make the shortlist. So 3 months later, the shortlist came out, and I appeared on that. I thought, this is slightly crazy. And thankfully, there was only a month to go till the awards. I didn't even know if I was going to get an invitation to be there. I'm texting and writing and saying, look, am I actually going to get to go to the BAFTAs, or is it just, I just had no idea. It was all a journey of discovery. So, a very pleasant surprise to be there that night. It was a great night, but I was just saying that I began to feel very nervous about it. I thought, well, I know what, if I did win, I know what I would want to say, but I better script it in some form, otherwise I'll just be like a rabbit in the headlights. So I spent that afternoon putting some thoughts down. And then as the ceremony unfolded, I got increasingly nervous because I thought, well, if I do win, I've now got to give this speech. Well, I don't really want to, why can't I just say thanks a lot, bye? But yeah, it was all a bit
Paul
surreal.
McCartney did at a Grammys award.
Did he?
He came up and said, thank you, and left the stage.
Yeah.
However, I was streaming on twitch.tv/Neely Roberts, and I was having a BAFTA party, and we had Scott Joseph, who plays the Emperor, and all sorts of people coming on, and we watched you, and I think Beth Park, who's one of the directors, was actually with me at the time, and we watched you get your BAFTA, we watched your speech, which was absolutely brilliant. A beautiful, beautiful speech.
No, you're too kind, really. But it was all a bit surreal because when they called my name, you then think, well, wait a minute, did I hear that? Or did I project that? You know, it's a very strange. I thought you just, I don't know. I just.
It'd be quite funny if they actually did say Tracy Wiles and you still stood
up. And I stood up. Well, Tracy did stand up, actually, and came and gave me a hug, which is one of the reasons I knew it must have been my name. And Neil Newbon behind me was shaking my shoulders, and the next thing I knew, I was on the stage delivering a speech. And when I got off stage, 6.5 minutes later,
yeah, it was a long speech.
Well, Sven said, CEO of Larian, said, it was the longest speech in BAFTA history. Not quite, almost. But when I got off
They're
stage,
at the back giving you the light, like.
there were no constraints at all. I was prepared for that. And also I thought, I can edit this, if I sense I'm losing the audience. So
I did on my stream.
So actually the full speech was 30 minutes. Yeah, and when I got off stage, I hadn't a clue where I was. The first thing that they said was, could you sign this? You have to sign for the BAFTA. I said, sign for it? What are you talking about? I said, yeah, you have to sign for it. Why? You sign for me. No, so you got to sign for it. Because every BAFTA is numbered.
Oh.
So if that ends up on eBay, we'll know whose it is.
But where is the BAFTA now?
On eBay.
On my bookshelf. And I have a strange feeling because it stares at you. It stares at me and it says, don't get too relaxed about this, because any minute now there's going to be a knock on the door and someone's going to say, I want that BAFTA back. There's been a terrible mistake.
It was in fact Tracy Wiles. It'll probably be her knocking on your door.
Well, there you go. We live in hope. But no one's been knocking on the door. Only Raphael. But yeah, true story.
Okay, I want to go back to something Neil mentioned earlier. Now, you said there's a lot, part of this role was mocap. Now, how did all of you adapt to that? Because mocap is quite difficult physically, and when you're doing quite a lot of lines as you all were, how did you all find that experience?
It was my first time doing mocap, actually. It is challenging. It took me a little bit of time to kind of get into the groove, as it were, and I felt obviously very silly in the pajamas. And I didn't know what I was going to look like, so I didn't know whether I was going to be wearing very heavy armor, and so I didn't know how big my movements could be. And also you have to kind of reset after each line. You have to go back to your sort of neutral pose, which is, it's kind of slightly difficult to keep the physical and the emotional rhythm separately. But after a while I found I got into it, and it seemed to work fairly well. And it was very odd watching it back and seeing my body movements and my voice, but not my facial movements, because I didn't have facial mocap. That was all done with a computer. And I discovered something quite interesting, which is that the computer can't really handle irony. So there are times when Nocturne says something, and it's like, both I know and you, the player, know that I mean the opposite of what I say, and I'm like trying to, suggest at something or hint at something or like be ironic here. And the computer takes the sincere reading and just kind of renders that facial expression. So there are times when I'm like, I'm not really being sad here, I'm just pretending to be sort of coy with you. But the computer gives you like a real sad, sincere, like sad face. And so that was quite funny to realize, right, they can't quite replace us with machines just yet, because the computer can't understand irony.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It took a while to get used to it, but then I think I just sort of left it alone, really. And as long as you go back to what's called the base pose after each line that you've delivered, because they need that, the animators need that to sort of splice everything together and make it all run smoothly. But I just left it alone and forgot about it after a while, and just act the character as I would act in anything else, be it television or theatre or anything else.
It shouldn't really be any different, should
real.
it?
No, it's not different at all.
Yeah, that was my feeling too. When they said it was my first motion capture, only motion capture, but they said, could you just angle it slightly? Yes, the base pose, but just angle it. And suddenly something clicked in my head, and I thought, so this is like three-dimensional space. So I'm looking there and I'm acting there. So it was like actually returning to stage for me. it suddenly didn't feel so alien, apart from the pajamas. It felt very familiar. And then, as the technology evolved, as it developed over the years, the 4 or 5 years we were creating the game, the technology improved so that we wore these gloves, and little chips were put into the back of the gloves that then you could embellish the gestures with finger movements. What can I do with these? But suddenly more parameters.
Raphael has a lot of that.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
very
I
useful
noticed that,
thing.
yes.
Yeah, so gestures became very important. I think, yeah, certainly for Raphael. And
But it is funny, I don't know if people know, you're in this little room with all these cameras all around. It's just a voice studio, but you're in your onesie with these glowing balls all over you that pick up the movement. And you are reading the lines. And so, as you talk about stage, it really is about using your imagination. You have to try and picture exactly where you are. And a lot of the time, the directors didn't know specifically where you would be, but they would give you an idea of where you are in the story, so that you could then play the scene effectively. But the fact that you are in this bare studio and in this onesie where you have to try and act, perform, have the technical stuff of going from one place to t'other with your body. Yes, it was very, very difficult. I think we're marvellous. I hope you appreciated our performances.
the other bizarre thing is that, as Neil says, we had the script in front of us in this empty room. We're incidentally surrounded by multiple cameras, I think up to 20, above, behind, below, all aimed at us and creating, through the light receptors, the little avatar that appears on a screen to the side. And this avatar resembles a Power Ranger, which is awfully flattering, really. We could get to choose the colour of our particular Power Ranger avatar. I went for ice blue. But
Mine was bright green with a purple outline.
there you go.
What about, did you get the same?
Mine was red.
I chose pink, which is maybe why Nocturne ended up being that colour. I don't know, maybe.
Thank you so much for letting me ask you questions. I have a question for Mr. Neil. So, in this section, I'm going to ask you the questions on different voice, not my voice, like a very different voice, and I want you to answer my question in a different voice, but my voice will be the Venom voice, and you will be the Doc Ock from Marvel Spider-Man.
I don't think, well, one thing that everyone has to realise, that when you buy Neil Roberts, you purely buy this voice. I have no talent whatsoever in offering different voices, unlike the majority of people in the game who can manipulate their voice beautifully. And there's a chap called Griffin down on the floor who does mainly anime. And I was talking to them, and they can manipulate their voice brilliantly, mainly into teenagers. Whereas with me, I can do absolutely nothing. But did you know, this young man has come all the way from Bangladesh for this weekend. But you know, Andrew was in Warhammer, and Emma in Warhammer, as well as myself.
Yeah, but you did the iconic role as alongside all these three gems. You did the Captain Titus role, sir.
I'm not sure if I did.
You did.
Well, thank you. It is not on my CV, put it that way. But
it is now.
After today, it may well be. I'm genuinely not sure if I did.
So what's your question?
My question is, sir, in upcoming days, if you get a chance to play a role in Marvel Cinematic Universe, what role you'd love to choose?
That's That's very good. I'm not very good at improvising my answers. I like, not Captain Scarlet, who is, that's something else, isn't it?
That's a puppet.
Yeah, exactly. Who is
Pretty cool puppet.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Doctor Strange.
I love Doctor Strange, mainly because he's quite strange, and because his American accent is almost as good as mine.
I'd be Doctor Strange Love.
I'll be Doctor Strange, darling.
Anyone else want to use a
I'll have to think about that. I like actually, I did do one thing. When my kids were little, I dressed up as Spider-Man and came through their bedroom window, and because they adored Spider-Man. And unfortunately, it scared the crap out of them. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, and it was horrendous, and they ended up in tears. So I left through the window, and Spider-Man never came back again.
That's really fun, sir. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
You're very kind.
And
I hope it was worth the trip from Bangladesh.
yeah. Once you have a time, try to pay a visit in Bangladesh. You have a larger fan base there as well. Same as
You're very kind.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for making that journey.
Thank you, sir.
I guess talking of being able to manipulate your voice, though.
It is a useful party trick to be able to do it. It's really good. It comes in handy sometimes. I've yet to be able to actually use it on a job.
But it is pretty cool to be able to do it.
Have you never done those two different voices?
Never on the job. Never on the job. I've offered it a couple times. I offered it for House of the Dragon. I went into the audition and I was
Moving up and down all the time.
changing things up for them, and then they were just like, no, we just want to keep it because but some people are just like, it must be some kind of trick, and I'm like, no.
That's awesome.
Brilliant.
Years of practice.
That's wonderful. You obviously confused the hell out of them.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, hiya. My name's
Love your
Megan.
boots.
Thank you so much. So Baldur's Gate has been like a huge part the past year of my life. My husband's been painting endless models of all of your characters. I've been making so many of your props and armor. All year long, it's been crazy. So my question is, who do you think has the best outfit in game?
Has everyone seen enough and played enough to be able to choose?
I like that gold armour that you see Minthara in a lot. I think that's beautiful.
I'm gonna go with the bear.
Okay.
It's a strong look.
I don't know if I've said this, but I'm streaming, and
Tell us more about that.
yeah, my character is called not the Dark Urge, but the Dark Mealy, and I'm a Dragonborn, so sort of the canonical, what is it?
Canonical.
It is canonical.
Yeah.
It sounded wrong, it sounded quite inappropriate. Anyway, I am that, and I killed Orin. And I put Orin's outfit on, and I actually look amazing in it. And there is an image of me on my table, in fact, if anyone would like one. But I adore myself in that. And if you fancy making me one.
I actually am working on an Orin outfit at the moment, and
What, for me?
scale it up.
Sounds like you got a commission. Andrew, what about yourself?
Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, I would say Shadowheart, but
Yeah.
yeah.
The armor or camp out.
Oof. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Give me that
Lovely. I
armor.
got some shadow heart armor as
Oh,
well.
bring it to my table.
When I go to camp, all my characters are just in their pants. The Dark Urge, which is...
You're lucky.
Dark Urge is this huge, well actually, because I'm on Twitch, you have to do the setting where you can't see any naughtiness. So I actually have no idea what anyone looks like. But...
With their clothes off.
With their clothes off. However, yeah, I've got this tiny, tiny little green G-string in my big canonical Dragonborn.
Amazing. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So if you want to make me that, it'll be a lot easier.
So what? When did, this is the last thing you said that's gone through me. But now, when you first all heard about the success of the game, when was the first time you heard about it? That it sold millions, played by so many people, and adored by so many.
I actually heard about it for the first time when we won Game of the Year. And somebody was just like, did you know that your Baldur's Gate is Game of the Year? I was like, really? That's amazing. And they're like sending me all screenshots and stuff, and then we'd all won awards, and I was like, yo, I'm in that, that's great.
And then it won all of the games.
Yeah, then it won everything.
Across the board.
Yeah.
The only time, I think, I'm right in saying that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Which, does that mean, officially, unofficially, it's the greatest game ever?
It is.
That does mean that.
It does mean that.
Yes.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty much instant as soon as it was released. Certainly for the 10 companions anyway, but it just went nuts overnight.
I knew it, the early access, the early release, there had been quite a fuss caused by that, quite a stir, quite a lot of traction. So I think that was the first indication that it was going to be huge.
Were you in early access?
Yes, I was.
Right.
Yes, I was, and I heard that Raphael had made some kind of impression, but he was never, I don't think, intended to be a major antagonist. So because of that early access hit, if you like, then I think they built the character up, developed it, became more and more embellished. So Harlep came along. That solved the romancing question. You can't do that. You can't romance Raphael, he's the devil. But you can romance the incubus. Hello.
Did you do Harlock's voice as well?
Yes, I did, yeah.
I came across you the other day.
What happened?
I came across you.
Okay.
But no, when the game came out I wasn't in early access. I'm surprised I'm in it at all. And it came out on PC, I think, early August 23. And I was working at Pit Stop, on Warhammer in fact. And Beth Park said, one of the directors said, oh, your Dark Urge monologue is huge, being chatted about. And there was something like 2 million hits on YouTube. But that's it. Larian sent a press pack just before it came out. And I wrote back saying, am I still in the game? Because my default is always, I presume I'm going to be cut. And so I wanted to know if I was even in it.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who has that. Who has that every single project.
Well, I never got a reply, so I presumed I wasn't.
Yeah.
And then Beth was saying, oh no, the character's huge. And I thought, and then a couple of other engineers came out the booths and said the same thing. And I presumed they had had a little chat and said, let's wind up Neil. Let's pretend that your character's really popular, but actually not in the game at all. So that's what I presumed. And then I went on YouTube and I had 2 million hits of saying, yeah.
I remember getting sent Shadowheart X Nocturne fan art on Tumblr and being like, oh wow, okay, this is a big deal then. Wow, people really take the time to do this.
One thing I was going to ask, based on something you said earlier, Andrew, over the course of a 5-year period, and you're going in and recording your voices over and over, how does voice change and develop over that 5-year period for all of you? How did you kind of develop that?
Well, I'm going to pull the rug out from under you. We did Nocturne in 1 day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was not there for 5 years. We did all of Nocturne in 1 day. And originally they told me Sexy Demon, and I went in there with a certain idea of what that was. And after a little bit of time, it wasn't really working, it wasn't really dialed in. And I said, is there some other way you can say Sexy Demon? Because that's giving me an impression that I feel like is taking us up the wrong path. And they said, well, that's just what we told you, but actually she's a tiefling. And then they actually told me some important details about her relationship to Shadowheart. And I was like, oh, in that case, let me try something different, and went for something much like, because originally I went in there with like something very sort of sensual and like very, yes, you're in my lair. And then they were like, that's not really the vibe. She's like an old childhood friend. And I was like, oh, okay, in that case, let me kind of like put her up here and just make her a little bit softer and make her like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. And I said, is that okay? And they're like, yeah, that's absolutely, you're totally allowed to do that. That's totally cool. And so then that's how we found the Nocturne who you end up finding in the game, who is much more of a kind of like childhood friend character.
Now you've said that, I think I did kill you. No, I recognise the voice and the style.
What about you?
For Minthara, when you first meet her, of course, she's brainwashed, so I was sort of experimenting with a much more uptight, mid-pitch kind of voice. And then when you rescue her, I wanted her to be getting herself back to normal, as it were. So you meet like the real her. And so I went for much more of a sort of looser, deeper, more guttural kind of feel about it. I would say overall that's the journey that I took vocally with her.
Neil, what about you?
Sorry, it was some time ago you asked a question, I can't remember what it was.
I was just saying, how did your voice develop and change?
Well, sort of I've said that in that I think that what's extraordinary about this game is the majority of us were part of the game for such a long time while it was being created. And as a result, they took what you were giving them and they amended and they changed. And I think everyone has sort of said that. And so you're part of that development. You had some input within it all. And often with games, the voice actors, the whole game's finished and then the voice actors do their bit at the end. And so I think it's very different as a result of that. And I think naturally, therefore, I think a default of many people is you maybe bring a little bit more of you into it. And you're allowed to be able to do that. And also I think you start to understand the whole feel of it because you've been doing it for so long. And so I think naturally you change because of your knowledge. And I notice that sometimes when I'm playing, there's some bits that work that just sound more intense, more involved, more as if even the voice actor, that everything sort of has found their world. And other bits where it's not quite found. And I think it naturally happens, that's all. But I'm not even sure how much they used of the first bits, because they changed so much, they had new dialogue, they just were constantly creating. So I don't know what bits they used and what they didn't, ultimately.
What about you, Andy?
I think some of the art work changed, some of the graphics changed. I don't know why, perhaps, in the development, perhaps the way we were playing the characters. For me, I felt Raphael was pretty much set from the beginning. I don't think he changed that much. Most of the sessions were very free, very collaborative. They went with what I was giving them, just a couple of passes on each line, just a couple of nudges here and there. So there was a lot of freedom, and I think from what Neil's saying, that the writers started to listen to the way we were, not that they weren't listening anyway. We were responding to the lines they were giving us. They were responding to the way we were delivering them. So it sort of grew. It grew as an organic thing. That was my feeling about it.
Well, that is all the time we have with our panelists today. So please join me in giving a massive round of applause to all of our panelists today. And also, don't forget, you can go to twitch.tv/Neil Roberts to catch up with all of his gameplay.
You are kind, thank you.
And also, don't forget, Abigail, you have your philosophy YouTube channel as well. I'd like to give that a quick plug as well.
Yeah, so you can always catch me on House of the Dragon and Star Wars and Philosophy Tube on YouTube if any of you like that. Hey! You can always find me doing my sort of educational stuff over there. But yeah, in terms of acting, you'll find me all over the place.
And don't forget, you'll be able to find me downstairs here this weekend as well, where they'll be signing and doing photographs with you lovely people as well. So don't forget to find them there too. In the meantime, one more round of applause to our lovely guests today.